Thank you, Corrine. Kevin McCarthy says that he invited President Biden down to the border. How does the president RSVP? Well, we know the president's never been down to the border. The possible next speaker says that he wants him to go with him, so is he going to?
So look, he's been there. He's been to the border, and since he took office.
When did he go to the border?
Since he took office, the President Biden has been taking action to fix our immigration system and secure our border, and that's why on day one he put forward an immigration reform, a piece of legislation to deal with what is currently happening at the border.
Does President Biden want more migrants to come to Delaware?
I don't even understand that question, but I'll move on.
She doesn't understand. That's a theme with Karine Jean-Pierre and the Biden White House as a whole. So let me help her out. According to analysis from the Federation of American Immigration Reform, since Biden took office, over 5.5 million illegals have crossed our border, including countless felons and dozens of people on the terror watch list. So yeah, it's a big problem and someone needs to tackle it. But will the new GOP House majority be up to the task? Joining me now is Florida Congresswoman Cammack. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with me. And, just going back to that lovely soundbite there, I don't know how that she can stand there and just lie. As we all know, Joe Biden has not been to the border. He has no plans to go to the border. And to me, that's really a dereliction of duty that he refuses to go to our border. As a sitting congresswoman, what do you think about that from our president?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that sound clip that y'all just played, I don't think I've ever heard a bigger load of crap from one person. I mean, totally divorced from reality. And she just can't seem to get out of her own way. No, Joe Biden has not been to the border. And let's be clear, he is not the commander in chief. He is the trafficker in chief. And that's evidenced by the fact, to your point, that we have over 5.5 million illegals who have come across the border. And what Mayorkas has continually pushed back and saying, oh, those are just encounters and repeat encounters. No, that's nonsense. The data from their own department shows that we have a crisis on our hands. And so not only are we seeing the facilitation of trafficking of children and women by the Biden administration, but our national security has been at risk since Biden took office. And they have no desire whatsoever to even address it in a policy format or even go give it lip service at the border. It's ridiculous. It's dangerous. And we are going to pay the price for it every single day until that border is secured.
Oh, we certainly are. And we're already paying a hefty price for it. And that 5.5 million, that's the ones that they've actually been able to count or to estimate. That doesn't include all the gotaways. God knows how many of those are in our country. And that puts a lot of stress on our infrastructure, our police department, our schools. I mean, even if these people are just good people coming to the United States to work, which is a noble reason to come, they're still stressing everything that we have in this country. And it's unfair to Americans who are paying taxes and working hard every day. And they deserve to know how many illegal immigrants are in this country. But I wonder, with Kevin McCarthy saying that impeaching Mayorkas is coming down the pike, what do we think that's going to do? And do we think it's going to be successful? What have you heard and what is the plan?
Well, I think it's important, one, that we show that we're serious about accountability. I can't tell you how many politicians have given lip service to, we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to drain the swamp. Well, we're actually at that point where it's time to put up or shut up. And so we have to go through the investigative process. I can tell you firsthand, I serve on the House Homeland Security Committee, and Alejandro Mayorkas has lied to my face 6 times. So he needs to be held accountable just for lying to Congress alone. Then you factor in the 98 individuals on the international terrorist watch list, over 600,000 gotaways just this year, the countless women and children who have been raped and assaulted. On my desk, I have a jar of wristbands, thousands of wristbands that are used by the cartels to put on humans and treat them like cattle. We are seeing the trafficking of people at our southwest border. And then you take it one step further. You have all these folks that are actively seeking to get away from Border Patrol agents. They're not trying to be apprehended, which means they are either violent criminals, gang members, or they are peddling drugs or other bad, anything like a bomb or anything that is a risk to national security. When you have fentanyl as the #1 killer of people between the ages of 18 and 45, it's not climate change. It's not COVID. It is fentanyl. And it is all coming from the southwest border. Yeah, someone needs to be held accountable. So that investigation is going to go through the process. We're going to put it all on the table because I think the American people, particularly Democrats, need to understand just how dangerous this game is that they're playing. And then when we remove him, whoever steps up, they're put on notice immediately that we will not tolerate the lying, the deception, the negligence. We will not tolerate the abuse that our Border Patrol agents have endured under this regime. That is why it's so important that we go through the process of investigating and then ultimately impeaching.
We have such an issue at our southern border, and what I can't figure out is how that issue didn't sway more midterm voters. Because it's a big issue. Our border is as bad as it has ever been. The Democrats have no plan to secure it. They don't even want to see it. You know, I think one of the only successful leaders to really hammer home the point of how important the border is, of course, Donald Trump, and then a lot of Republicans followed his lead, as you are doing. But I wonder, do the American people at large not care that our border is being invaded? We know that hardcore Republicans do, but the independents, the fence riders out there, do you think that they're just not realizing how bad this situation is? Where are we losing these people?
You know, it's a great point because like you, I was hoping that the border issue would move more people into getting out and voting during the midterms. But the thing that I have really discovered over the last 2 years is until you make it a kitchen table issue for everyday Americans in Ohio, New York, Wisconsin, Michigan, if you don't make it an issue that's real to them, then they're not going to care because we as a species, we are very self-involved. We think that we're the most important people on the planet and we have jobs and families and all these things going on. So while we absolutely, I think, care about our national security as Americans, I think it has to really hit you home. So for the parents that I've had the opportunity to meet that have lost their children to fentanyl poisoning, to the families that are now angel families because they have lost loved ones at the hands of illegals who are in our country committing crimes and continue to evade justice. For those people, it's a real issue. But the thing that I think is going to really drive it home is when we can put the kitchen table issue and the border as one. That's why I was so passionate about the baby formula issue. You know, we turned baby formula into a baseball bat. When you've got moms and dads struggling to find basic necessities, formula, especially specialty formula for their kids, that is a real panic. And then they see the videos that we posted of baby formula being stocked at the border. That hits home. We need to be exposing this over and over and over again, particularly as we're facing this economic crisis, 40-year high inflation, unemployment starting to go up. All these issues, people are starting to feel the squeeze. Why don't you show them the warehouses that are stocked full of clothing and items and toys where everyday Americans are going without? That's going to hit home much greater than any data or number of statistics that we can throw at them.
Oh, I agree with you. And another thing, bringing up our national security, not just those individuals that are coming into our country, whether they're apprehended on the watch list or whether they're coming through as gotaways and we have no idea who they are and what they're doing here. Another issue that's been brought to our attention over the last several weeks is air marshals that are now, instead of being on our flights, they're now being sent to the border to essentially be babysitters, a job that they are not trained for, a job that is not their duty. So this is going to be a whole other can of worms for the American people. And until something horrible happens, I don't think they're going to realize it, but I really hope it doesn't come to that.
No, it's absolutely insane. The fact that they have an all call out for volunteers, not just across Homeland Security, but across the DOD, that you can come down and volunteer for 3-week stints and process paperwork. Oh, and you can also run errands and go pick up prescriptions for illegals. Give me a break. This is absolutely a slap in the face to every single man and woman who has actually taken the oath. They've gone through the process to become an agent, to become an air marshal. And really, what are they in fight for? There's not a policy that the Biden administration is allowing them to uphold. And when I talk to these agents, and it's virtually every day, I hear from these agents, from their families, they say, the technology will be great. The resources will be great. The more manpower, that'll be great. But the thing that we need most is a policy. Give us a policy that allows us to do our damn jobs. That's what we need to do at the end of the day. And I can't say enough about why we need to keep hammering this issue. You know, we are in a position in the Tucson sector, for example. Instead of sending more manpower, they're pulling people off the line and they're processing and babysitting. Tucson has more gotaways, which are the violent criminals and people with drugs, than any other sector. It makes absolutely no sense. And we have to step back and say, this isn't a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is an American issue. And it's time to give a damn, because a lot is on the line, and it's only going to take one dirty bomb, one terrorist that comes in illegally and destroys people's lives and communities.
You know, we hear a lot about Arizona and Texas, of course, with our border issue. We don't hear as much about California, and that's because large portions of our California border have fencing and double wall. So that is a big deterrent, and it allows the agents to really double their force there because they do have those physical barriers. Just another testament to Donald Trump's old adage of build the freaking wall. The last thing I want to ask you about is other GOP House priorities. You know, there's been a lot of talk about investigations, and I got to be honest with you, I go both ways on that. One part of me says we need to investigate Hunter Biden, we need to investigate the origins of COVID, we need to investigate Fauci, all those things we deserve answers for. We deserve answers about big tech collusion. But then the other part of me goes, do we need to pay more attention to inflation and the border? Is that where the priority needs to be, or can we do both at the same time? You're the best person to ask. What do you think?
I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I mean, and we have to. We're kidding ourselves if we think that just doing investigations is going to prove that we deserve to lead. It's absolutely a key part of our job as members of Congress. We have the oversight requirements of our daily job, but we also have to legislate. And that means we've got to fire the 87,000 IRS agents. We've got to get our economy back on track. We've got to support our local law enforcement. We've got to get rid of these liberal DAs. We have got to restore the constitutional freedoms that the Dems have been chipping away at for years. If we don't show that we can legislate and hold people accountable at the same time, we're not going to win elections, because then at that point, we're governing for one party rather than for all Americans. And at the end of the day, going into the 24 election, people are going to say, is my life better or worse now that Republicans have the House? And I am hoping, and I'm going to work my ass off every single day to make sure that they say, you know what? It's better. They brought down the price of gas. They got things back on track. I'm not feeling the squeeze the way that I was. They're actually holding people accountable and doing what they said they were going to do. That's what it's going to take. But we have got to stop the circus of thinking that we can only do one thing at a time. And if we ignore the rest, it's at our own peril.
No, it certainly is. And I'm glad that you said that, because I know that there are a lot of voters who did vote Republican maybe for the first time because of the Biden administration and the buyer's remorse they had with voting in Democrats in 2020. So we have to show them that even though we just have a majority in that one chamber, that you guys can get to work and you can do something. If not anything else, just stop some of the horrible, tyrannical, communist BS that this administration's been pulling for the last couple of years. Congresswoman, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, for keeping the heat on the border and other issues that are so important to Americans. And we hope to have you back anytime.
Hey, thanks so much, Tomi, and congratulations on the nuptials again.
Thank you so much.